It looks like Baylor football has a new offensive star, and he's just getting started.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello there, Bears fans. Welcome to another episode of Locked On Baylor, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Thank you so much for making it your first listen today and every day. I am your host, Cam Stewart of ESPN Central Texas and The Cam Show on Rogue Media Sports Network. And as promised, we talked a lot of Sawyer Robertson yesterday. Talking a lot of the other new offensive star for the Baylor Bears. That's Bryson Washington today and his monster game, his breakout game on Saturday against Air Force, how he should be the feature back going forward. And then a special treat for you guys. I got to talk with his high school coach from the Franklin Lions, Mark Fannin. He will be joining the show as well to talk about Bryson, the man off the field, as well as the inspirational leader he was on the field in high school and how that can continue into this college game and beyond. All that is coming up on this episode of Locked On Baylor. So you thought Sawyer Robertson was the only offensive breakout star of week 3. No. Bryson Washington back into the lineup and every bit as advertised. Dave Aranda was saying for a couple of weeks now, we're just waiting to get Bryson Washington back out there. Basically just telling us, wait till Bryson Washington gets back out there. And I was a guy who was high on him coming out of high school, as I've mentioned recently, mentioned last year as well. Like, I loved watching this kid run in high school. The speed and the power, he absolutely had the build to be playing Power 4 college football, even though he was playing at 3A in high school. And he was a bell cow. He was coming from a team that did not pass the ball, and they still had a ton of success. He won back-to-back state championships there, and he was obviously a huge, huge reason why. But we talk about that with his coach later on. But I was kind of patiently waiting for Bryson Washington. I know he was a little banged up last year, and even when he was healthy, wasn't quite getting the carries he probably wanted. And then the anticipation came up this year because Baylor did not run the football very well through 2 games. And now Bryson Washington is on the scene, and you saw that in a big way on Saturday. And I like to say, I mean, he plays the style of running back that every football fan wants. He's got a little bit of fullback, a little bit of tailback, because he has speed and power, and he plays the game aggressively. You saw it against Air Force on Saturday. He was actually deceptively a little patient, but when he found that hole, man, he exploded through that hole. Like, he runs with the vigor that we all want to see. You know, he's not pussyfooting around. He's not, tippy toes waiting for something. He is going and he is playing and he is trying to finish his runs. Sometimes to a fault, by the way. I mean, he had that 25-yard reception or whatever it was and fumbled at the end when he should have gone out of bounds because he was initiating contact. But that old school hard-nosed style of football, there's still room for that in today's game. And Bryson Washington does it at a very, 2024 level. He is a freakish athlete, but is still very big and can run you over and then run past the next guy. I mean, truly. Run past the linebacker, get in the secondary, barrel over the safety, or vice versa. He does it to run. He can run over the linebacker and then run past the safety. That's how special I think this kid is athletically. And it was no small sample size, by the way, on Saturday. He averages 8.8 yards a carry in the game. And it's not like, he had one 50-yard run and then a couple of nothings. No, he ran it 12 times for 106 yards and a touchdown. And the long was 34. So, I mean, that's a good chunk, but that's only a third of his yardage as opposed to, doing it with 70 to 75% of his yardage. He was your bell cow in this game. And I think that's what he needs to be going forward. In fact, the next guy in terms of rushes for Baylor in the game was Dominic Richardson. And he didn't get his first carry until, 50 minutes into the game. So, I mean, it was Bryson Washington's night for sure. And he was asked after the game, Bryson, it's been a long journey to get back out on the field. What was going through your mind when you scored that first collegiate touchdown? And the answer is pretty cool.
A lot of people don't know my story, but when I crossed those lines, I couldn't think about nothing but my dad. Lost him at the age of 3, and that's the only thing that really crossed my mind. And the other thing, I was just tired. I'm not even gonna lie, I was tired.
Well, he was tired. I like that. But also he was thinking about his dad, which is, a really cool thing. It's unfortunate that he lost his dad at such a young age, and, he probably didn't know him all that well at age 3. So the fact that he still carried that with him for years and years is really impressive for a mature young kid, a true sophomore. And you'll hear more about his story when we talk with his high school coach in a minute, but that kind of from a young age forced him into being a leader, and it's certainly come along. And we talked about Sawyer Robertson yesterday, and a guy who has waited his turn, and hopefully this is the break, and how much we still commend that in sports, but especially in our world of college football. And it's not as long a wait, but Bryson Washington was a guy who was used to toting the rock, 30 times a game, 25, 30 times a game for some high-end high school talent. And I think, felt that he was ready to make an impact right away in 2023. Saw Richard Reese do it as a true freshman in 22. I think he was ready to make that impact right off the bat and wasn't able to do it, and has battled through some things already at a young career, injury-wise, as well as, obviously, his story that we're going to talk about here. But I am very impressed. I am very impressed by the performance he put out there against a physical Air Force defense. He gave it right back. And again, that is someone you can get behind as a fan in terms of the way he plays the game, and of course his personal side too. And I see Bryson Washington and Dawson Pendergrass. And I think you saw that rotation in the game on Saturday. Richard Reese ends up with the 28-yard touchdown run. But other than that, those were the guys getting the carries. And like I mentioned, Dominic Richardson didn't get a touch until late in the fourth quarter. So I think it starts with those two guys, Bryson Washington, Dawson Pendergrass. And then, and hopefully you keep them for another couple years. Like, that's the future of your backfield, with Caden Knighton and Michael Turner, 2 4-star recruits coming in as well. But those are your guys. Those are your hosses, man. Like, they're, Dawson's obviously deceptively quick. Nothing really deceptive about Bryson Washington, man. He will beat you up, and he will run past you. Nothing deceptive there. And both those guys, downhill, tough, inside the tackle runners. I think those are your running backs. And the other two are change of pace guys right now. And it's a week-to-week thing because Bryson Washington hadn't been on the field, but he is on the field now. And boy, I believe he is here to stay. We are going to have his head coach from high school, Mark Fannin, coming up on Locked On Baylor. Hey guys, have you heard of ROI yet? Okay, it stands for Return on You, and it's a new platform that lets you, the fan, get involved in NIL like never before by making contributions directly to your favorite athletes. And by supporting players directly, you can help shape your rosters, retain your talent, keep your favorite athletes out of the transfer portal. Because as you know, NIL has really changed the game. At Baylor, we know that really well. Well, ROI changes the NIL game for fans, okay? Because you can directly support these players. ROI allows fans to directly back their favorite college athletes, because with it, fans can play a key role in shaping the future of their favorite teams, while the athletes maximize their name, image, and likeness, NIL potential, okay? And it's no risk contributions to you. Fans' contributions are securely held and are only distributed if the athlete makes the decision that aligns with the fan's support. If not, the money is returned to the fan. So download ROI for iOS and Android and enter the referral code Locked On, and you'll automatically be entered into a sweepstakes to win $5,000 cash. Just visit ROI.com for additional details. No purchase necessary. So get off the sidelines and into the NIL game with ROI. Support the players, change the game. Mark Fannin has joined the show, head coach of the Franklin Lions, and therefore the head coach for Bryson Washington in his illustrious high school career. Coach Fannin, did you get to catch any of the Baylor game the other night? And if so, what was your impressions of kind of Bryson's first impressions in college football?
I absolutely did. I was unfortunate I didn't get to go to the game. Something come up and I just couldn't make it. I tried to get tickets there late, and it was about a couple hours before the kickoff because my plans kind of fell through, and I was able to go, but it didn't work out. But I was able to go home and watch it on TV, and seeing him on the field in that Baylor jersey and performing the way he did, it kind of made my chest poke out, and it was a very proud moment for him and his family, and I couldn't be more proud of him of how he played that game and what he did.
And tell me about your relationship with Bryson, kind of the person first. Obviously Franklin's a small town that's really, of course, into its football, and so you've obviously had a relationship with him for a while.
I have. Bryson's he's a great kid. They moved in here when I think he was a sixth grader. I think he was when they moved to Franklin. I knew at a very early age that he had some talent and was a special player. And getting to know him and starting in seventh grade, in football, he's one of those diamond in the roughs that you don't come around very often. Just what type of kid he is, how he plays the game, his leadership skills. We knew that, as a coaching staff going in that he was pretty special. And you don't get to coach kids like that very often. And we were very fortunate that we had him in green and white and in the Franklin green and white. And he was a special player. Just, I started, he was kind of to himself at first, kind of new school, knew everything for him. But he was just, he started opening up and after, I started building that relationship piece with him. He lost his dad at a very early age. His mom pretty much raised him, and he's got two other brothers and a sister. And his mom kind of raised him and did it the right way. I give props to his mom what she done with those kids, because they very easily could have went down the wrong path, but she was pretty stern on them. And it was pretty special to be around and watch them grow into great young men. And like I said, Bryson's leadership skills, the kids loved him. He come to practice. You could tell he was absolutely ate up with football. The way he practiced each and every day, the way he played each and every Friday night, and he was the leader on this team, vocally and physically, just the way he played the game. And a bunch of these young kids that when he was coming through, they looked up to him, and they try to be Bryson, So that's just how he is as a person. He's a great human. He's just one of those guys that I would do anything for, because of what he did for me in this program. It goes a long ways, and I can't say enough about him.
And what he did for you and for that program was pretty special. We're talking about 32 straight wins, back-to-back state championships. You have some nice-looking trophies right there over your head, Coach. And Bryson was a big reason why. What kind of impact did he play? You kind of mentioned it a little bit there, but what kind of impact did he play on and off the field in terms of those state championship runs when the biggest milestones were on the line? Yeah,
in 2020 when he was I guess he was a sophomore then. Yeah, he was a sophomore then. We that's when I took over as the head coach, and we made it to the state championship game. He had a big role in that game. It was a tough loss. We lose to Canadian in a 1-point game there with 30 seconds left on the clock. But him getting to experience that game and these kids getting experience and just that atmosphere, kind of made them hungry. They were not very very happy with that result. And him and his teammates, coming back after that loss, after that Christmas break, it was around 6:00 that morning after Christmas break. We come in, there was a pile of them waiting to get in the weight room just to get ready for that off season for the 21 year. And, he's a game changer. Like I said, he's a kid that is, you just look up football player in the dictionary, he's just right beside it. His picture's right beside it. He's a kid that his physicality, his vision, his toughness, his selflessness is just top notch. He's one of the most humble kids I've ever met. He's always gave praise to everybody else. When he would score 6 touchdowns a game, or 5 touchdowns a game, he's always giving credit to the offensive lineman or the quarterback or the backs that were blocking for him. It was never about him. He's just one of those guys that are very, very selfless and is all about his teammates and just one of a kind, really.
And for those who have not followed the Franklin Lions, they keep it on the ground a lot. It's the slot team mafia down there in Franklin. And so much of that, Coach, obviously is based on discipline and keeping discipline and not only just in the sense that you usually see, but Novocaine plays, running them over and over. Give it time. It always works. And so how quickly did Bryson kind of latch on to that discipline that was needed to succeed at Franklin? And how do you think that has helped him, obviously with the success at Franklin, but also transferring into the college game?
Right. We preached being disciplined football team year in and year out. And Bryson was one of those guys that was leading the pack. Ever since he was a varsity football player as a freshman. He was just different than everybody else, even as a freshman. You could just tell how he's running around out there, leading the team as a freshman, just talking to him and he being the young pump on the team. He was just out there always leading in the right way. And you could tell that at a very early age. And every year he just that piece got better and better. And, he ended up being, his senior year, just he pretty much was a big time role model, and not only for the football team, but for the high school, the high school, how he acted in the hallways, how he acted, in the classroom, in the community. There's he's very well thought of in this Franklin community, and I just couldn't be more proud of him right now of getting this opportunity and showing what he's about.
You've heard us talk a lot about Bryson Washington. You've also heard us talk a lot about FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. Well, we've got something a little different for you because right now through Sunday, that's September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you're going to be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. All you need is a Google account, a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook. Once again, that is FanDuel.com. And going off of kind of the things you said earlier, you said it there too, role model and having to step up for his own family as well, and the hunger that he instilled in some of his teammates going into 2021. How much do you think that plays a factor now? I mean, we're talking about a Baylor team that was 3-9 last year, and Bryson was a little banged up and didn't get carries even when he was healthy. He comes in this year, and he's going to be a big part of this thing, and therefore a big part in hopefully Baylor football turning around. Do you think that's just the kind of challenge he likes?
He's ate up with it. His freshman year, last year's freshman year, he didn't go the way he planned. He had a few injuries that was unfortunate. And he didn't get the playing time he needed, but I never heard him one time complain about any of that. He's one of those kids that, like I said earlier, he's very, very selfless. He's all about his teammates. He really trusts the coaching staff. He trusts how, how we led him and trusted everything that we did with him. And I know he's doing the same thing with that Baylor staff right now. He trusts those guys, and he's just been waiting, on this opportunity to come. And it came this last Saturday, and he kind of showed out. So it was fun.
And he showcased some real Franklin football, man, with that speed and that power, man. He wanted to finish all those runs, which is something that Baylor has really been looking for. So now that he's breaking out still, because every week it feels like someone else, some new team, new fan base, new commentators are going to learn about Bryson Washington. And you've seen him play a lot of football. Where do you think his ceiling is, and where do you think his career could go?
Yeah, I think it could go as far as he wants it. Like I said, he is one of a kind, and he's a kid that is determined. He loves the process. He's ate up with the process, and if he can stay at it and continue to be just do what he does, I think the limit is it's there. Sky's unlimited for him. Just the way I know what type of person he is, and the way he really understands the ins and outs of it. He's just a great kid, and I can't say that enough.
And to kind of put both those things into one question here, how lucky is Baylor to have a player like Bryson Washington, and how lucky is this program and the fan base to have a person like Bryson Washington?
Bryson, he had multiple offers going into his senior year. He had, over, 12, 15 offers. And majority of those offers were on the defensive side. There was only a couple of those offers that were that offered him as a running back. And he's always been a Baylor fan, and Baylor was always on his list, and they wouldn't really pull the trigger, and he was kind of waiting, and he finally committed, I think, to SMU, verbally committed to SMU, and then late in the game, very late in the game, Baylor offered him as a running back position, and as soon as that happened, I knew where he was going to go, because that's all he talked about was wanting to be a Baylor football player ever since I could remember. And when that offer came on the table, I knew he was going to, flip the switch and get on board with those guys and do great things there.
And finally, before I get you out of here, Coach, what is one thing that some people might not know about Bryson Washington, maybe a story or something he said, that you think really embodies the kind of player and guy that he is?
Yeah, I keep going back to his unique leadership ability that he has, and his humbleness. I've never seen a kid that could lead a team in the way he does, and just being so humble about the whole process. I mean, everybody knew he was the dude on the field, and there was no doubt that he was the guy. He was the man. But talking to him, visiting with him after the game, it was always about his teammates, and always about, what other people done, and it was never about him. And you can't find that very often in young kids to act the way he does, with being so humble about the whole process.
Well, Coach, we really appreciate your time. I'm not going to grill you on this, but I did see your star back this year, Jaden Jackson, said, hey, you want to see this duo in the backfield again, talking about Bryson Washington. So certainly we might be revisiting with you soon about another Franklin tailback.
That'd be awesome. Jaden's a good kid too, and he's getting a lot of attention right now. And that would be sweet on my end, that see them both in the backfield of Baylor. So
yes, and we will have plenty of Baylor fans down there with just a little different shade of green than the Franklin Lions.
Just a little
bit. I think you can get away with it at the games.
Absolutely.
Think so. Coach Fannin, thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. We really appreciate that. And if you want to keep up to date on all the Baylor sports news, be sure to give us a like and ring the notification bell, because we are your first listen today and every day. We are your exclusive home for nothing but Baylor sports content 5 days a week that's not coming straight from the university. Be sure to follow us here on YouTube and also wherever you get your podcasts, and on Twitter as well at Locked On Baylor. Thanks so much again. Have a good one, and sick 'em.